Hey everybody, this is Joe. I'm here in my Houston, Texas garden and I'm in zone 9A, and I'm going to give you a look around my garden in the beginning of first week of August. And I'm going to show you, there's so much to show because I've been gone for so long. I'm going to cut it into 2 videos. So right now I'm going to do the shade side, which will go all the way around the outside of the garden and really under crepe myrtles. And I'm starting kind of in the back. You know, we all have sort of the working area of the garden. And so this is my giant leaf pile, which you can see it just cooks down. So it's crazy how much this breaks down by itself. And I have this shelled ginger in front of it that last year got high and sort of camouflaged that. And it has not bounced back from the freeze we had in December. It has been very slow to come back. I don't know why, but it's finally kind of getting some height. But you know, it's the same with you guys. There's I have extra gravel and bark, pine bark mulch, and I have some potting soil back there and some flower pots. And these are my 2 compost piles, compost bins. And so I'm trying to camouflage it right here, and I've got my cart out just because I was too lazy to put my cart up, which means that means I would have to clear out some of the garage. So I've got this beautiful pink crinum lily. It gets huge. It blooms in the spring and a little in the summer, but it's super floppy, and so that's kind of why it's back here. Is that everywhere else just would lay on top of all its neighbors. So that's why this is tucked back here. And in these 2 pots, I have pipevine to feed pipevine swallowtail butterfly caterpillars. And this one, you can kind of see, I think maybe the lizards or somebody got to it. You can see there's some munching that's happened on there, but I haven't found any caterpillars. They always hide on the bottom. But I had pipevine caterpillars earlier in the year, and this was kind of a scruffy plant, but I kept clipping and clipping to use it to feed it. I had them in an enclosure to feed it to the caterpillars, and it came back with these big, beautiful leaves, and it flowered. This one I didn't cut back as much, but the more I cut on it, the better it looked. And I can't find any flowers for you. They look like little pipes, like an old-timey pipe. But I have taken little organza bags and tied them around the seed pods, if you can see it in there, to catch the seeds when the seed pod ripens, so they don't spread. Now, it will spread on the ground, which is great. I want to be able to propagate some in pots, and Rachel from Gulf Coast Butterfly Gardening, if you're watching, these are for you. And I've got another pipevine growing. It's a different variety growing up here. And there's another one in here. It's not happy, and so I kind of stopped checking on it. I think it's probably toast. I've got my little olive tree. I took its support off, and it is really... I'm trying to just clip and clip and clip on it and do what you're supposed to do. I want it to look like a topiary. Now, it's going to be crooked, but I want a ball on the top. And I see the fruits of my labor already. A couple of months, probably 2 months ago, I cut. You can see that little cut. I clipped it, and now I've got 3 where there was just 1. And so I'm trying to clip all the little ends, even though they get pretty and long, and I want them. I hate clipping stuff off, but it's very rewarding. So don't be afraid. And there's Miss Stoutfire. She wanted to be part of it all. Hi, I see you. Now, one of the things, it has been, it's been for 5 weeks. It has been between 98 and 103 in my yard. And it has not rained in a month. And so stuff is toast out here. But I have a couple of things. Now, unsurprisingly, the stuff that's doing the best are native Texas plants, of which I walked right past it. This is an oak leaf hydrangea. It's about a year old, year and a half, and it's doing great. And just seems to love it, doesn't mind. It's in a mostly shade. You can see it's under this tree. But it gets a little direct sun, not much. and it's very happy. The other native plant that's really happy here in the shade is a chili pekin, and it is this wonderful little plant, has white flowers and red berries, and these little chilies, you can cut those, you know, you could pickle with them, you could put them in guacamole, anything you wanted. They're pretty hot, but I have not cooked with them yet, but I really planted this for birds because it's also known as bird pepper, and the birds will eat those. Now, I did a little video before I left on my vacation about propagating ivy geraniums, which is super easy, and feel free to watch it. However, what I am learning, you know, there should be a disclaimer on my videos. Like, I'm just learning along with you guys. I'm always learning something new. And so what I learned is you don't want to propagate something when you're trying to get new growth when it's this hot, because I did get new growth. I've sort of tried to get all the little crispy bits off, right? But when you try to get new growth when it's this hot, all the little baby leaves all just fried. So I came home to, you know, my friends kept it watered, my family kept it watered, but all the new growth just was toast. And so I've been breaking off just the dead parts, but not clipping, because I don't want to encourage growth, which is exactly what I was trying to do by clipping it all back. I was trying to encourage new growth, and I did, and it all fried. So I think that is something for the spring and the fall, but not when it's hot. And the other thing was, so these are the ones I took some my propagation video is from. I'm putting them in the still alive category. All their new growth died. And you have to I recommend cutting, when you take your cuttings, let them sit out for like 48 hours. I sat them on my little table, just like in my video, and then I walked away, forgot about them, went to Scotland. Of course, I have no new plants, so that's okay. I have plenty of ivy geraniums. And then, and this is a non-trailing one, and it is in really good shape, but again, I didn't clip it back. So it's blooming and it looks nice. This is what happens when you clip it back. So learn from my mistakes. I'm like, this is a scented geranium. Now, I did take a lot of brown leaves off, but I didn't clip it. And so it's pretty and green and smells wonderful. And so now is not the time. When it's hot, it's not the time to do it. Now I have this sweet little flower. I bought these on the sort of what I call the RIP table at Lowe's, and it was nearly dead months ago, and they just look wonderful. Now, right now, if I let this get in the full sun, even 2 hours of sun will make it wilt down to nothing. So I've been keeping it. I put it out here for the video, but I will put that back where it will get no sun at all when it's this hot. But I'd never grown it before. I love it. I have two varieties. One is big and bushy and one is a little bit sad. So I like this one obviously better. I bought them on different days. But I really like that little plant. How I trimmed back my dragon wing begonias pretty hard, and they're coming back, kind of flushing out, looking pretty. So I'm happy with that, even though it was so hard to cut. They had flowers all over them, but I was like, I'm going out of town. Little did I know it would be a month before I really came back outside, because I got pretty sick. And so mostly what I did is look out my bedroom window, my bathroom, and just kind of go, oh, and just was pitiful and felt sorry for myself because I could not come out here. I didn't feel well enough to come down the stairs. Now, this is crazy. Your eyes do not deceive you. This is not just on the video. But these, even though they're in full shade, look how they've bleached out. They seem healthy, but all of these ferns have just bleached to this sort of weird, silvery, whitish green. It's very strange. So it looks really weird out here. And then my American Beautyberry has bloomed and is putting on its cute little berries. They're going to be magenta berries. The birds will eat them, and you can make jam out of them. But this is not that kind of video YouTube channel. I will not teach you to make jam. But let me show you a couple more things back in the deep shade that are looking good. this shrimp plant, which is sort of the variety that's in the most shade in my garden, is back here in that sort of yellowish lime green. Just looks super pretty. And I've got Turk's Cap back here, native plant, looks great. And then I've got a Sweet Spire, which is a native plant. It's just getting established. It's really small, but it'll be a small shrub, and it will have fall, beautiful maroon foliage in the fall. And so I'm ready for that to kind of take a little space back here. And then I'm gonna just show you a little peek back here of there's that wax myrtle. It's a native plant. It's sort of reaching for the sun, which is what I wanted. And then I trimmed out the lower branches and just made it into a multi-trunk tree, and some new growth down there. And I will probably trim it a little thinner, so it will just be a really cool tree with a big puff of green at the top. And then in the spring in particular, when all of this these herbaceous plants have died to the ground, you'll be able to see that, and that would be really pretty. I have a secret desire to paint the fence black, but I don't have that kind of energy. But it would look cool against that. That is another oak leaf hydrangea. It's pretty new. That's maybe 6 months old. The other one that's so much bigger and bloomed in the spring is probably a year and a half. So that seems to get really well established, and it just has looked real pretty all year, all spring and summer. Now the native ferns have done really well. Still look super pretty. I haven't given them extra water or anything. I have had the sprinkler go off while we were out of town, and we've set it off a couple of times because we're desperate for some rain. Here's a thing I am wondering about. So this is a native shrub called Walter's viburnum. I have some in the front. This has been here a little while, and you can see it even has new growth on it, even though it's 100 degrees every day. I think you could trim that into a hedge or a little ball, and let it kind of hold the space of a boxwood, but it's a native plant, and it has little white flowers. And it just seems to be sort of indestructible. I have it in almost full shade. Look under here. They've got all these huge crepe myrtles, and I have it in almost all day sun in the front. And it seems very happy and very easy to deal with. And so I wonder if you could cut that in a little ball like a boxwood. Someday maybe I'll try that. Now in the heat, my irises become distressed, and I don't come out and water them all the time, so the old foliage from the spring dies, and I just have sort of like the We're Alive little soldiers, and they do this every year, and I don't get worried about it. It's back in the shade, and so I just let it happen, and it doesn't bother me. I think other people would be driven insane by that, because I just let them be terrible and have all this bare earth, but it doesn't bother me. This is a coralberry. I've showed you guys this before. It is such a floaty little plant. I really like it. I didn't see any flowers on it this year, even the one that has more sun than this. I think maybe it needs to get a little more established, because I didn't get any flowers this year, but they're pretty new plants. But I still really like that one. And then this is the Rangoon creeper, which is a huge, beautiful vine. I don't have enough sun for it to bloom, but I encourage you once again to Google what the flowers look like and plant this if you need. It's a very vigorous vine. It does die to the ground in the winter here for us. It got down to 16 degrees for 2 nights in a row here in Houston in December, and so if that gives you an idea of what it will survive, it was fine and it died all the way to the ground, but it came back just fine. Creep in here. Now I've got sort of mixed in here. I've got that's frog fruit, which is native Texas. It has little teeny tiny white flowers, and I just step on it all the time. Then I've got some of the diamond frost euphorbia. My diamond frost is not blooming very much right now. Maybe it's just too hot. The plants seem fine. It's just kind of too hot for it. And then I'll show you a couple of pots over here. This is Sedum Autumn Joy, and it has bloomed off and on all summer long. It looks really nice. Oh, here's some that's blooming. It's sort of a pale pink. Part of me wonders if it's Autumn Joy or not. That was what the tag said, but it's such a pale pink. But I also had a creature that kept climbing in it, and so there's a big hole in the middle. And I did move one succulent out here, mostly for show, because I was going to make this video. What I had in there was that awful ratty geranium that I messed up. Here is an ivy geranium that I did not trim or propagate anything from, and it seems just fine. Beautiful. And then I've got this coral nymph salvia in here that was super pretty, but it's not getting any sun, and so it stopped blooming. But as long as it's alive, and when the leaves fall, then I will be able to drag it in the sun, or it'll get some more sun, and it'll be great. Okay, I'm gonna show you this now. My obedient plant was not happy, but I got a couple of little bitty pink flowers, and I think they're super cute, super pretty, but they're not happy where I put them. I'm not sure where to move them, but they're not happy here. So I've got crinums, and they did bloom a little bit actually while I was gone, and they're sort of flopping over. I think this is a lack of water. And then I've got shrimp plant that's really not quite blooming yet. I've got a plumbago that's not quite blooming yet, and these are amaryllis here. And then back in here, hello baby, scoot scoot. Back in here, I planted some Gulf Coast penstemon, just little pots, and so you can see they're limping along. I planted them. I should have planted them in, February, and I planted them at the beginning of the summer. So they're struggling, but they seem to be grabbing hold. And then there's such a pretty grass back here. Let's see if I can get back here without stepping on anything. This is inland sea oats, and it is a native plant, and it's a butterfly host. And look how gorgeous. Look at this. Oh, I can't get it. Look at that. And then of course these turn golden in the winter. I love it. It will self-seed fairly aggressively, and so but it's very easy. If it's rain, just pull them out. You can see they're sprinkled in here, but they're very easy to pull back out. And I've got a Duranta. You can see that's a Duranta. I'd never grown it. It's too shady, no flowers. So that's got to get moved. I have a lot of plans for what will get moved in the fall or in the spring. Cousin It looks awesome. Now this is my little shady end to the side border, because my tree is ending, and so there's a lot less shade. So this wonderful grass looks great. And then that's a porterweed. That's a native plant there. And then there is a dwarf Barbados cherry way back there that I didn't get many flowers off of, but it looks pretty good for being. That's very shady there. My dahlia, still alive. I'm very happy it's still alive. This is Gentle Hermione, this rose. It looks terrible. It doesn't have any, there's hardly any leaves. I guess there's one stalk there that's got leaves. I don't know what's happening, but I'm just trying to keep it watered and keep it going. And then I've got some wonderful profusion zinnias. I don't know the variety name. I just got these at Lowe's. It's like, oh, well, if you're going to sell it to me for $1.50, I'll buy it. There's no arm twisting involved. And then this is a self-sown gomphrena, which I'm going to talk about in my next video, because it is the star of the show here in my garden after all of this heat and no rain, this drought. The gomphrena is the star, and clearly it can grow from seed because it did this all by itself. And then this is an agastache that the bees really love, and I try to keep it, carefully deadheaded, but it does really well all summer. It doesn't seem to have any problems. And this is a thing that I was really surprised I did not cover in the winter, and it didn't freeze back in 16 degrees. Very strange. I trimmed back all of my Landsleeve coreopsis before I left. It had sort of long stems like that. I trimmed everything back. All this lovely new growth everywhere. It just looks wonderful. These things hanging over it, and it's blooming again. And then, oh, you guys, I was out of town and I missed it, and then I was sick and I wasn't up to making any kind of videos. This whole giant thing, here's one of the stalks. This is a spider lily. Look how big that plant is. It's gotta be 7 feet wide. It's massive, and it was covered with giant stalks with white spider lily flowers that were almost as big as my hand. It was wonderful, and but I'm afraid I didn't get a video of it. Then I've got a native milkweed going here. So pretty. I love a milkweed flower. I think they're wonderful. And gosh, the amaryllis is just too hot. It's just too hot this year. But they're alive, they'll be fine. It's a big bulb, so they'll be fine, but oof, they don't look good. And then I did just trim. I've worked on the garden for a few days since we got back and since I got well. I've probably been able to work in the garden for 4 days, maybe a couple of hours here and there. And so I've done a little cleanup. This fleece flower is just getting fried. And so I did cut off a lot of fleece flower that was just cooked. It had grown into here, and so I trimmed a lot of that out. And then this is native Texas little blue stem. Isn't it cute? I love it. Now I'm getting in the sun. I'm sorry the video will be washed out a bit. This is a false indigo, native Texas, no flowers, but it's a pretty floaty little plant. I like it. I wish it would bloom, but I like it even without it. And then our old friend, the coral, hyacinth bean vine, that's it. And it just goes and blooms and blooms and blooms. And my goodness, it's just been the best all summer. And it's, you can see it here, I'll show you, it's covering, it's hiding the rooster in there. But look how pretty, just blooms away. Now this is one of my favorite things. I'm climbing up. I'm gonna show you guys because I'm so excited about it. This is a Texas kidneywood. There's the trunk, there's 3 little trunks, and then I have cut it into a tree. And it looks so pretty. It's crowded out right here, but I don't have the heart to pull this out because it's pretty. But it is so pretty. It smells kind of funny, but it should have, if you touch it, it has little white fluffy flowers on it in the spring. But I just think it's so pretty. I love it. Here's my little castor bean. I'm growing it because the flowers are kooky. And then this is my little parsley hawthorn, and it's native to Texas, and it will have beautiful, beautiful white flowers on it in the spring, which is why I bought it. I saw it in the nursery parking lot, and I was like, what's that? And they told me, and I bought it immediately. Oh gosh, I just love this. Isn't it beautiful? So easy to grow. That's just a couple of seeds, and you get that. It's wonderful. And then things are ratty and noisy back here, but I've got some sad roses, and then my arrowwood viburnum is looking really good actually. It's got a couple of little crispy leaves, but you know, I haven't exactly taken good care of it, and I won't go back there because it's so loud. And then I'll do the edge of the porch for you as the end. So look at this incredible begonia, still beautiful, and it gets a little bit of full sun, maybe an hour or two, and I'm so impressed. And this is the one that when it froze, I literally ripped the plants out, handfuls of them, broke the top off, put them in a garbage bag, stuck them in my kitchen for like 3 days, and replanted them, and they all came back like that. So that's an amazing variety. And then these are coral berries as well. So native Texas, when I came back, they kind of look, oh, spider mighty or something, but they're doing okay. They're making it, and I look forward to them flowering maybe next year. Oh wait, hey ho, look at this. Look at that, little buds. Okay, we'll come back to this next week and see what's happening. Well, thanks for taking a look. I hope y'all's gardens are making it through the heat, and you are being able to go out and garden and have some fun out there. Be safe. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.